This is the first mock draft I have posted this year and ever. I have a lot of thoughts. I consume a lot of content revolving around the NFL draft, but I have yet to really get my thoughts out into the ether, into the atmosphere. So I thought, what a better way to do it than 3 weeks before the draft actually happens. Now, I do plan on doing another mock draft before the actual draft starts, which is within probably two and a half weeks at this point from where I'm recording this. If you guys want to see a part 2 to this, be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments. But this is going to be a what I would do mock draft for the most part, like 95%. You're going to see some takes that are a little bit out there. There might be some takes that you disagree with. Let me know in the comments, again, if you like some of the takes. If you don't, so be it. But we are going to be doing 33 picks as well, so we can get the Panthers in there. As a Panthers fan, there is no reason to be hopeful. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There is no God. It is just suffering. So the first pick in the 2024 NFL mock draft is going to be none other than Caleb Williams. Now, why Caleb Williams? I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, but it's pretty simple. Obviously, with them trading away Justin Fields, they're taking a quarterback. I mean, it's pretty consensus. However, who is my number one quarterback? Who do I believe to be the best? It's probably Caleb Williams. He has the least, bust potential in the top 3 quarterbacks, I would say. I'm a huge fan of Drake May. I think that there's a ton of scrutiny on him for basically no reason. People see him as extremely raw. I don't see him as raw as everyone says. People say he's got a great upside, but it's like a low floor, high ceiling. I think he's got a pretty good floor as well. I mean, people are forgetting that if he came out last year, he would have been one of the top picks in the draft. So let's not overthink it. If you're Washington, let's go ahead and take Drake May at 2. And again, if you look in the back, I'm an LSU fan, so I am a little bit biased in that regard. But I'm not as high on Jaden Daniels. I think that a lot of his production was mainly due to the fact that he was beating up on a lot of bad teams. I mean, there was some blowout games from LSU. They weren't really impressive to me. And also the receiving core is just insane. I think that it's definitely the receiving core propping him up as opposed to the other way around. That's not to take away from Jaden Daniels, though. It sounds like I'm clowning on him. Sounds like I'm talking a lot of trash. Still think he's a great quarterback prospect. He will be going at number 3 overall for me in this mock draft as well. But do I think he's a franchise quarterback? Yes. Do I believe he is on the same tier as Drake May and Caleb Williams? No, I don't. I really don't. I think he's a very good quarterback, but he has his own limitations and issues as well. So now we get into pick number 4. You see 3 quarterbacks go off the top. Is there going to be trade-ups at this point? Are the Giants going to maybe move up for a quarterback? Obviously, the Vikings talking about it a ton. They've already made trades. Will that happen? More than likely. Am I going to be doing that? No, I'm not. I'm actually going to stick and pick. If I'm the Cardinals, we need weapons, and I'm taking Malik Neighbors. Greg, why would you not take Marvin Harrison? He's the best prospect since Sebastian Janikowski. Okay, listen. The reason I'm taking Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison, and again, pretend that this jersey is not in the background. It's for the simple fact of this. Whenever you hear the number 1 guy, he's the best guy in the draft. He's the best player in the draft, let alone positional value at quarterback. He's number 1. Malik Neighbors has more explosiveness. He is a home run threat, and Marvin Harrison is just sure pair of hands, great body control. He's all the great things. But if he wasn't named Marvin Harrison Jr., would he be slotted above Malik Neighbors? And honestly, my second-ranked receiver, which is Brian Thomas Jr., I think it's tough. I mean, I consume, like I said, a lot of draft content. I see a lot of different takes, people trying to be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. I think Malik Neighbors is just a better wide receiver through and through, and I'm taking him at 4. You look at a team in the Arizona Cardinals that is lacking explosive playmakers. They have Trey McBride, who had a really, solid season last year, but he's not your number 1 guy. Malik Neighbors gives you the size of someone like Michael Wilson, but in the explosiveness of what Rondale Moore was supposed to be. What are you looking for if you're not looking for that as a number 1 receiver? I don't get it. And again, that's no knock against Marvin Harrison. I mean, kind of it. I guess it is because of expectation. He's a generational prospect. Yes, he is. But Malik Neighbors is even better. So if that's any indication how I feel, I mean, the Chargers are going to stick and pick. They're taking Marvin Harrison Jr. So with all that being said, he moves down 1 spot. There's going to be a run on receivers here. And I definitely think that Marvin Harrison, if he doesn't go at 4, he's not going to make it much longer than that. The reason the Chargers stick and pick and take a weapon is because they're losing everybody. They have lost Mike Williams. They've lost Keenan Allen. They have size on the outside and Quentin Johnston. They need someone who can come down with contested catches, give you the reliability, and move the chains. Jim Harbaugh is going to be happy to have an offensive weapon slotted in for them And it was a little bit too early to maybe take someone like Brock Bowers. I don't even think so. Look at him as a pass catcher overall, and in my opinion, he's probably the 4th best pass catcher, right behind the 2 LSU guys and Marvin Harrison. So with that being said, the Giants are on the clock here. Obviously, we know Dave Gettleman likes to take hog mollies. Joe Alt is definitely in consideration, but if we look at the receivers overall, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, what are we lacking? We're lacking size. We're lacking that number 1 size body player. Rome Odunze is a beast. Again, this is not a matter of knocking down other players. For me, if I'm looking for a true number 1, I'm scrolling down the board a little bit, and I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. at 6 overall. Is it high? Absolutely. 6'3", 210. Amazing athleticism. He can make you miss. He tries to take it to the house every single time he catches the ball. You know, you're combining skill sets that the Giants are lacking, and we go quarterback, 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 receiver, receiver, receiver. Now, you could say, and people make the argument, that because the receivers are so stacked in the 2nd and 3rd round, that it might force some of the top-end talent to fall. Roman Wilson, Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall. I mean, not that these receivers are bad by any means, but there is a clear gap between the upper echelon of wide receivers, those players that are true difference makers, and then players that are going to be contributing to your offense overall. And I think that if you're a team that is deprived of number 1 talent, I think it's a no-brainer. You go with Brian Thomas Jr. That's just how I feel. I mean, if you don't like it, then just swipe the video off. Joe Alt at number 7. The Titans need an offensive line upgrade. Peter Skronsky was drafted last year. He's playing guard for them currently. With Taylor Lewan not being there anymore, there's definitely a bit of a gap as far as an influx of youth and overall top-end talent. With Joe Alt, you take care of both of those things. One of the best players in the draft, my number 1 tackle, and a clear difference maker at 7 for the Titans. This is where, some people say the draft starts at 3. Some people say the draft starts here or there. The Falcons are one of the most interesting picks, probably in the top 10, just because you have a ton of positions that you could stand to upgrade, but at the same time, too, you're kind of sitting with house money. You know, you spent a ton of money in free agency last year. You improved the defense a ton. Now you bring in Kirk Cousins to try to take advantage of the high-end potential of your offensive weapons, and I don't think it stops here. Rome Odunze is who I'm leaning towards. You could make a case for Johnny Newton. You could make a case for Byron Murphy, and I think those are both in contention. Quinyon Mitchell as well. Overall, at where are names sticking out to you where you're just like, oh my God, what's going on here? And for me, Arnold Ebiketie, Lorenzo Carter, they're not moving the needle for me by any means. AJ Terrell, Clark Phillips. Is he a number 2 cornerback? I don't think so. Then we look at the weapons. Rondell Moore, kind of just a throw-in for getting rid of Desmond Ridder, truthfully. Darnell Mooney, Drake London. Yes, you have a ton of overall weapons, but why not quadruple down? The Bears pick at 9. You know they're looking receiver. If they were able to get away with Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, it would be like a big wet dream for them. Let's not let that happen. Let's not let that happen. Let's go ahead and say, if everyone's clamoring for a certain player, maybe we need to take that player. And actually, you know what? I've convinced myself against it. I'm taking Quinyon Mitchell. I cannot justify after thinking about it, because this is not scripted. I'm just going. I have, some ideas, but Clark Phillips cannot be starting on the perimeter. They lack another, overall cornerback that can hang on the outside with AJ Terrell. So Quinyon Mitchell, to improve that defense, give them an influx of youth. I mean, you can say that about every pick because everybody's going to be young in the draft, unless you're fucking Cormac Ryan. But anyway, that's not even the same sport. So the Bears pick at number 9. Rome Odunze is sitting on the board, and I guess we're just going to fulfill the prophecy of getting the Bears the best draft possible. Talent is falling down. There's still only been a total of 1 defensive player in the top 10 besides this 10th overall pick. The Jets are probably, punching at air right now. They probably fell to their knees in the Walmart parking lot because there goes who they probably would have taken at that pick. And I do believe that after this, there is a little bit of a drop-off now moving forward. As far as overall talent is concerned, I will say I'm a lot higher on Keon Coleman than most. He did run an atrocious 40-yard dash. But at the same time, too, I still am very high on him and his ability to, he's quicker than fast, I'll say. He's one of those types of guys. So now the Jets pick at number 10. So who's it going to be for the Jets? Obviously, offensive line is a huge priority for them, keeping Aaron Rodgers upright. You got to, continue to protect that investment that you acquired. So Troy Fatanu could be the pick. You hear about Talisa Fuanga as well. I think Fatanu, better pass protector, probably going to be slotted in on the left side. So it would be Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith. Oh, yeah, you already know that neither of those guys are going to be playing all 17 games. Okay, you never mind. You know, Olufushanu, I don't know why he has been falling down everyone's draft boards. I think he's the tackle 2 in this draft. I truly do. Very solid pass protector, needs to improve in the run game, but for the sake of what the Jets are trying to do, obviously they're going to run the ball a ton with Breece Hall, but Aaron Rodgers is going to be let loose this year, and if we can keep him upright, good things will happen. So picking at 11 for the Minnesota Vikings. No trades in this mock draft, but this is going to be kind of what I would do, and I would definitely take J.J. McCarthy. You are deprived of youth at the quarterback position. Take it from a Panthers fan. Sam Darnold is not who you want to be trotting out for the season unless you want the first overall pick next year. And the way that this quarterback class is looking, I would rather have a quarterback in this class. Now we could definitely see a run on 3 more quarterbacks, but there's only 2 that I would consider taking in the first round. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of these quarterbacks didn't make it in the first round. I also wouldn't be surprised if even Spencer Rattler snuck in there. So at pick 12 for the Broncos, Jarrett Stidham has not really shown a lot of promise, so I definitely would not feel comfortable going into the season with him as my quarterback. But at the same time, too, I mean, this team actually has a ton of holes. Oh my God, if you're a Broncos fan, I feel bad for you. I could definitely see them going edge, see them going cornerback. It's hard to justify, like I said, trotting out Jarrett Stidham here. So for that reason, we are actually going to be taking Michael Penix, who is going to be my 4th-ranked quarterback. But considering the fact, like I said, there's going to be a 5% chance that this is what would happen in real life. All of the ties to J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota, I think they're hard to ignore at this point. Picking at 13 for Las Vegas Raiders, they are always reaching on high upside prospects like they did last year at edge, but they're also, you know, they're either consensusly reaching on players that are too raw, or they're just drafting players that have no upside, like Cleveland Farrell, Damon Arnett. I mean, they're a weird team as far as draft goes, but it's okay because we are going to draft a better player for them. Now, I was debating a few different positions for them. I was thinking to myself, maybe they take a high upside player to play inside outside, you know, Amarius Mims, J.C. Latham. They do love their Alabama guys. But I look at the cornerback position. What the fuck is going on here? Nate Hobbs and Jack Jones. That sounds like a bad country duo that you don't want to listen to. So let's go ahead and draft a scrappy defender for them. Let's go ahead and take the 2nd best cornerback, in my opinion, and we'll go ahead and take Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. He's got that grit to him. He's very sticky in man coverage. I think he'll be a solid player for the Las Vegas Raiders, filling in a need for them. And now we pick at the 14 spot for the New Orleans Saints. Saints could go a number of different directions. Clearly, they do need a long-term quarterback option. Derek Carr is not going to cut it. But something about the Saints, they never say, okay, let's take the cap on the chin this year. They always try to be mediocre and contend, especially in the NFC South, which is always seemingly up for grabs. So with Derek Carr being there, I don't think that they would take someone like Bo Nix, although I could see it. In this spot, I'm not going to. It would surprise me and make me very happy if they actually took a quarterback, which is probably why I should do it, because like I said, this is partly what I would do. But I do know that they struggle at tackle immensely, and I think that J.C. Latham out of Alabama has potential to be the number 2 tackle in this draft. So we're going to go ahead and select him at 14. Currently, Trevor Penning has been a bust for them. You know, how many games is Ryan Ramczyk going to be good for anymore? I mean, his career is falling off a cliff. It's pretty insane. So we're going to take J.C. Latham. 2 Alabama players go in a row. Now the Colts are on the clock at 15, and there is a few good options for them as players have fallen down the board. Someone like Brock Bowers, who I did say is my number 4 overall pass catcher after these top 3 players. So definitely should maybe just take some of my own medicine and select him, especially with Quinyon and Terrion Arnold being off the board. So we're going to go ahead and take a true difference maker in the weapons category for the Colts. We're going to take Brock Bowers. Probably has no business falling this far, and he would not make it past the Jags or the Bengals. So now we are halfway through the NFL draft. The Seattle Seahawks are on the clock. They need interior. They need edge. They've been needing edge for about 7 years at this point. It seems like Byron Murphy's still on the board, and honestly, Jalen Carter last year could have went in the top 5 and went to Seattle. So if we look at who Seattle's trotting out, they have no real difference makers at pass rusher. Sorry if that offends you. You know, you're a big boy Mafe fan. He's solid. You know, Derek Hall out of Where did Derek call it? Auburn. They're fine, but they're no true difference makers. You've seen quite a few edges fall down the board. Have we even taken a single edge rusher in this entire class so far? We haven't. And honestly, I am higher on Jared Verse than I am on Dallas Turner and Laiatu Latu. If Laiatu Latu's health concerns clear, and the teams are going to have way more information on that than someone like me. But I think Dallas Turner, who is not my number one pass rusher, but I think he has the highest upside to become a number one. So we're going to take Dallas Turner at pick 16. Now, pick 17, maybe the edge rush begins. I think it actually should. In fact, considering the needs of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm between a few players. Cooper DeJean, who has just perfect versatility in the back end. I'm going to go with my number one pass rusher in the draft. That is Jared Verse. They get their number one pass rusher, considering the fact that they're not wanting to pay Josh Allen for some reason. Maybe they decide to let him go after this year, and Jared Verse could become that number one pass rusher for them. His testing numbers were not elite by any means, but I think he can truly be a number one pass rusher for that team. Now the Bengals on the board at 18, and you could definitely have made an argument that someone like Brock Bowers, who has been mocked to them plenty of times over, or maybe if Brian Thomas was on the board. But right now, there's not a lot of offensive talent as far as weapons are concerned, and clearly the draft is just falling in a way where there's too many, defensive prospects that are hard to pass up on. You'd hate to reach on, a potential receiver at this point. Tackle is definitely something that's needed. Talisa Fuanga, Troy Fautanu still on the board. So it's going to be, in my opinion, one of those two players, Amarius Mims. And the Bengals just need tackle and even Cordell Volson slotted in at left guard. I mean, Cody Ford's there. Whoever's the best of those two could definitely play, but they need somebody on the offensive line. There's no guaranteeing that Orlando Brown and Trent Brown stay healthy for a full season. So with that being the case, we're going to try to protect Joe Burrow, because if he is staying upright on his feet, he has a chance to contend in the AFC North, which has just quickly become one of the toughest divisions in all of football. So for me, it's going to end up being Talisa Fuanga. He's a better run blocker than Troy Fautanu, and with the Bengals' needs at this point, clearly we know that Zach Taylor loves to run the ball on first down. He's one of the least... Okay, I'm just going to get into a Zach Taylor rant. He is one of the least creative offensive gurus ever. I don't know why they give him that title just because he was like sniffing asses with Sean McVay. He should have been fired after the Super Bowl. He got so lucky that Joe Burrow happens to be him, and now he has a job and he's kind of stuck in purgatory. He should not be the Bengals head coach. He shouldn't have been last year. That's how I feel, and we can come back to this if he ends up winning a Super Bowl for them, and you can clown on me if you want, but when he gets fired next year, don't come running to me. That's my Zach Taylor rant. He is not a good offensive coach. He's not a good coach overall. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the Rams, and I think this one's pretty clear. Johnny Newton's still here. Byron Murphy's still here. We go ahead and we just replace what we lost. Byron Murphy going to be a little bit more of a prospect similar to Aaron Donald. No one's ever close. There's always an undersized defensive tackle that's extremely athletic with great leverage that everyone says is Aaron Donald-like. And Byron Murphy fits the bill. He probably should not be falling down to 19. I could have easily seen him going at 8, but the Falcons decided to address their secondary. The best way to improve their secondary is just improve the pass rush, so that way the cornerbacks have to defend for less. And now the Steelers pick at 20, and I think it's going to be Cooper DeJean. We need a true number one cornerback opposite of Joey Porter Jr. I don't know if he has the upside to be a number one, but if we look at the Steelers' overall depth chart, I think that they don't have a very good cornerback on the opposite side of him, if I remember. It's Joey Porter on one side, it's Dante Jackson on the other. Yeah, you think Dante Jackson's going to be holding up with all the big receivers in the AFC North? Trust me, I'm a Panthers fan. He's not that good. He's not good at all, actually. He's definitely fallen off a cliff. He's always been undersized. He's always had that edge to him, which has made him kind of just a good cornerback. But at this point in his career, nothing to be too happy about. And it kind of sucks for the Eagles picking 2 spots before, because they would have loved to have a high versatility, well tackling defensive back that can play a number of different positions for them. The Dolphins are on the board now. Could take Johnny Newton here. Definitely think O-line or defensive interior. Troy Fautanu is still here as well. They lost Robert Hunt to the Panthers in the offseason. They've actually lost quite a bit of talent on the offensive line. But at the same time, too, what do we really think is more of an issue for them? Nose tackles are a dime a dozen in the NFL. Zach Steeler, very underrated. Jonathan Harris could definitely stand to be upgraded on. But they have really good, edge rushers overall. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. Whether those two stay healthy for a full season is a question. But they have Shaq Barrett behind them. They paid him in the offseason. So I think for me, considering the fact that they lost Christian Wilkins, it is a big issue, and Johnny Newton is a very talented player. But I think that they need to continue to throw assets at the offensive line. We talked about the Bengals tackles, same with the Saints. And speaking of a Saints tackle, Teron Armstead, is he going to stay healthy for a full season? Austin Jackson out of USC has somehow been starting for them for like 4 years. He's not a good player. I don't know what to tell you. He falls down, and the Dolphins take advantage of it. Now the Eagles picking at 22. As I said before, they could use a tackling cornerback, someone that has, good athleticism, and that's why we're going to take Nate Wiggins. Oh, wait. Nate Wiggins is a great cornerback overall, but he can't tackle worth the shit. So if we look at the Eagles roster and some of the signings this year for different teams, I'm completely out on. I was doing like the Weddle like a couple days ago. If you guys know what that is, it's like the Wordle but for NFL players. And the player was, I was playing the hard mode, and the player was Chase Young. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, he's number 99 down. He's under age 30. He plays in the NFC South. And I'm like, what Saints edge rusher besides Cam Jordan is there? And I'm trying to think. I'm like, well, Marcus Davenport's gone. Who is it? It's fucking Chase Young. Did you guys know he signed there? I don't know. I feel like there's so many just moving players that you just never can keep up with it. But the Eagles, they get CJ Gardner-Johnson back. James Bradbury slotted to start on the outside. I like Nolan Smith, coming out, being able to maybe produce. They have Zach Bond, Josh Sweat. They got a lot of good pass rushers that are definitely number twos, but they don't have that elite pass rusher in the number one spot. Clearly, they're going to try to contend. Good weapons overall in the offense. I think we got to address the defense. And you know how much they love to invest on the defensive line. I think we're going to end up going with a true pass rusher, a true number one, who could really be the number one pass rusher in this draft, is Laiatu Latu. Again, assuming the medical's clear, he's going to be a very polished day one pass rusher, and the Eagles could definitely use that considering the fact that they are a win-now situation. They could have taken, like I said, Cooper DeJean if he was there, to maybe get ready to plan for a future behind Darius Slay and James Bradbury, but he's not. So Laiatu Latu falls in their lap. Now the Vikings picking at 23. They didn't have to trade up for a quarterback in this situation. He just falls to them at pick 11, so they're granted another draft pick. And we know the Vikings have always lacked that number 3 receiver outside of Justin Jefferson, and now that they have Jordan Addison. So I don't think it's N'Keal Harry. I don't think it's Brandon Powell. But they also have always struggled to have true defensive backs. They drafted Lewis Seen, who is now slotted to be 3rd overall. Cam Bynum, don't really feel good about that. Andrew Booth Jr. I don't know if this is just a projection. Shaquille Griffin's there. Caleb Evans, I don't know who that is. I feel like I'm pretty in touch with the NFL overall, and I don't know who that is. So between Nate Wiggins for me, who has the potential to be a sticky man corner, with Byron Murphy, I like that a lot to improve the defense. We did take a quarterback before. I could also see them taking a receiver here. So who's it going to be? It's probably going to be Nate Wiggins for me or Johnny Newton. Let's go ahead and go Nate Wiggins. Shores up a true number 2 cornerback beside Byron Murphy, and now the Cowboys pick at 24. Cowboys kind of swung and a miss. It's a little bit early to say, but they took Mozzie Smith last year. He has still the potential to grow into his role, but this could be the first spot where I see another receiver fly off the board. Adonai Mitchell would probably be my next receiver. Brock Hoffman, Zach Martin, and TJ Bass. All right, JPJ off the board to the Cowboys. 24th best player according to PFF, and we are going to slot him in at pick 24 very nicely. So now the Packers picking at 25. Go ahead and see what they need. Kenny Clark not getting any younger, despite the technology for it. He has yet to really take advantage of that. They definitely need a safety, but that's not somewhere I'm comfortable drafting. But we're going to go ahead and take Graham Barton for the Packers. And Johnny Newton continues to fall, and I don't know how far he's going to fall just because he is an elite defensive tackle prospect. Byron Murphy, went at pick 19. And defensive tackle is just not a valuable position overall. They are starting to get paid a lot more in free agency. You'll see, huge contracts being shelled out for them. But I still think that Tampa Bay, a lot of NFC South teams just feel like they can continue to win and stay relevant here. They're 9-8 last year. Baker Mayfield gets re-signed. Vita Vea, Logan Hall. They have a lot of picks and draft capital allocated to the defensive line. Kool-Aid is here as well. They definitely could stand to upgrade at cornerback considering the fact that they lost Carlton Davis. And I think we're actually going to do it. We're going to go ahead and take Kool-Aid McKinstry Was projected to be better than Terrion Arnold, but after the season, he's definitely fallen off quite a bit. Testing numbers weren't amazing for him as well. And but, you know, the Buccaneers get a solid cornerback, someone that can play alongside and fill in the gap of Carlton Davis, play alongside Jamel Dean. So now the Cardinals pick at 27. We had them taking a receiver before. It wasn't who you'd think. It was Malik Neighbors. Could truly stand to upgrade at so many positions. They have a ton of holes. I mean, they have one of the worst rosters in the NFL, in my opinion. It's no reason they went 4-13 last year, and that still was probably better than they should have. They have Halti Froholt starting at center. I didn't even know he played center. Mikey Sanders still I could definitely see going in the first round, but he's a little bit undersized, and I'm just struggling to really find where the value's at. Like I said, they have a roster that could stand to be improved in a number of different positions. Amarius Mims, I feel like, is probably the best player, but I think a pocket-pushing defensive tackle in Johnny Newton is just too good to pass up at this point. Bills drafting at 28. Could this be where we start to get into the second, or maybe even, I guess you'd say, third tier of receivers? It's got to be. The receivers for this team are absolutely atrocious. They've lost their number 2 target and their number 1 target. They are currently rocking out Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins, and Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir, better receiver than you'd think, but if he's your number 1, holy shit, you got another thing coming. Adonai Mitchell has great size to be a true number 1. Do I think he lacks overall athleticism? I don't know. It's kind of ironic, I guess, for me to say that, considering the fact that I'm a huge Keon Coleman fan. Got to make sure we're not taking contrasting skill sets. Some teams like to just take one skill set and just rock out with it. This team has a big body receiver. They have more of a ZY and an X, but they're all like second tier. So maybe we just go ahead and take a shot on Adonai Mitchell, say that he has the potential to be a number 1 receiver for us. I think that's probably the best case scenario for them. Now the Lions definitely need to improve their offensive line. They've improved cornerback. They spent up, and they end up getting Carlton Davis. I don't think I like any of these pass rushers to go in the first round. Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson as well, who I probably consider more of a defensive interior player, probably more of a 3-4 end. So let's go ahead and take, for the Lions, we'll just maybe take best player available. Amarius Mims has the upside and versatility to play a little bit of the interior, as well as maybe being slotted in at tackle. They did lose Jonah Jackson. I think maybe even just having a developmental tackle in Amarius Mims, with him just sliding down the board, Lions are in a good position. They have a very talented roster from front to back. So no real needs. They've spent well in free agency, and they have the luxury of taking a solid tackle. And now the Ravens picking at pick 30. Bo Nix is still on the board, something I didn't even really think about. Do I see him going in the first round? Who would he have even gone to if not the Saints? So I really forgot about Bo Nix entirely. I'm too poor to afford the PFF premium, so I can't do any trades. I feel like at this point somebody would probably trade up for him, but I guess in this draft he's not going to go in the first round. It is what it is. I can't imagine all of these quarterbacks go in the first round. Maybe they just don't like his age. They don't like his overall potential, even though I think he's got a good ceiling on him. If anyone's going to be afraid to take somebody because of age or health concerns, it's probably Michael Penix. I just happen to be higher on him as a whole. Ravens probably just need to continue to improve their offensive line. Maybe they could take a good receiver with size, and maybe Keon Coleman fits the bill for them. With Adonai Mitchell kind of starting the run on that third tier, they're slotting out Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. Keon Coleman is the pick here at 30. 31, I'm already thinking cornerback or just defensive back as a whole. Tyler Nubin screaming at me, staring me in the face. But they're also slotting out Aaron Banks and John Feliciano, although Spencer Burford's not bad. I guess whoever really beats out and wins in that, yikes, this defensive back room is bad. It is not looking good. All right, Tyler Nubin's the pick. A safety goes off the board. Nobody would ever expect it. And now the Chiefs picking at 32. They could also definitely stand to improve receiver just because of, certain people liking to do bad things, and do things that are not legal. I like Roman Wilson more out of all of these players, if I'm being quite honest. I don't know if I'm going receiver for them. Joshua Williams, Nick Jones, Jalen Watson at cornerback. That's not good. Cornerback, I think, might be the move for them. TJ Tampa could be definitely a good pick here. Mikey Sanders still as well. Do I think he goes in the first round? They do like scrappy, versatile defensive backs. I mean, obviously, the Honey Badger had a great role for them when they made playoff runs. Trent McDuffie has versatility inside, outside. Deion Bush, not moving the needle for me. I think we go ahead and take a Michigan player in Mikey Sanders still. One of the best defensive players in all of college football. So that is going to be it for the overall first round. Now, I'm going to be selecting as well for the Carolina Panthers. It's not going to be on here, but if we look at the Panthers depth chart, which just for a refresher, because I want to feel bad and feel pain in my heart, we're going to take a look at them overall. Clearly, they do need another cornerback. I don't really know how I feel about taking TJ Tampa at this point, considering the fact that I probably would have taken him in the last pick, so it's not really that big of a deal. But we know what they need. Jonathan Mingo, to me, not really high on him. Adam Thielen's super fucking old. Terrace Marshall has not produced. Deontay Johnson, solid, but this team has spent a lot on offensive line. They've lost so many players on defense. It's insane. The Washington Commanders are just becoming the Washington Panthers at this point. They've literally taken so many players from them. We've lost out on defensive linemen. We've lost out on defensive backs. And as much as I want to take someone like Ladd McConkey, Roman Wilson, great separators, give Bryce Young some options to throw the ball down the field, which I actually really do like Roman Wilson as an Adam Thielen replacement. Let's not talk about that, because we're going to be letting up 35 fucking points a game if this is who we're trotting out on the defensive side. And as much as I don't want to take another developmental pass rusher out of Penn State like they did in Yatir Gross-Matos, I think the pick for me, Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, we're in the slums big time. DJ Wanham. Okay, DJ Wanham's not starting for me. We are taking Chop Robinson at pick 33. It's not going to be on here, but I'll put him in here somewhere. That is going to be it for the overall draft. Chop Robinson slotted somewhere down there, and there you go. So this is the first mock draft for me. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a part 2. Like I said, I'll definitely be doing one more of these before the draft actually happens. If you guys enjoyed the takes, please be sure to leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the takes, still leave a like. It helps the video out a lot. And if you didn't like it, then just let me know why in the comment section. How about that? It boosts the algorithm. You guys are feeding into me one way or another. And let me know your opinion. If you don't like me taking Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison, let me know in the comment section. Really, just fucking type it all out. I can't believe he took Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the best prospect since fucking Calvin Coolidge. Or if you liked it, whatever it is, I don't really care. It's my mock draft.